Hey crew, we have a brand new Arc 3.0 preview here, Bring the Thunder by the Destiny developer team, and if you want to read it yourself, you go over to Bungie.net if you want to check it out. But we're going to go over the new abilities and all the different stuff that's going on here, and there's some really cool things, so I'm super excited for this. We're a build channel, so this is right up our alley. Now this is Bring the Thunder, and the first part here is all about go fast and hit stuff, right? The Arc 3.0 revamp, we call it Hold W subclass, so they want us to go fast and hit stuff really hard. So first off, we have lighting up new abilities. Before we dive into the class-specific Arc abilities, let's talk about the buffs and debuffs that are key to Arc 3.0 experience. First up is the new buff Amplified, which is key to the Arc 3.0 experience. An Amplified Guardian is faster, both in terms of movement speed and in terms of their weapon handling, and more agile. Able to perform long slides that can function as a devastating setup for some of the attacks that follow. Unlike other damage type buffs, Void Invisibility or Solar's Radiant, players don't need to equip any specific aspects or fragments to become amplified. By default, all Arc's classes become amplified after rapidly defeating targets with Arc damage, so weapons, abilities, supers. Unequipped aspects and fragments offer additional ways to become or benefit from being amplified. After sprinting for a few seconds, an Amplified Guardian will gain another boost in speed. As designer Mark Humboldt put it, basically as fast as we can make our sprint animation go. Gaining a sizable PvE damage resistance buff. That's really nice. If that's going to stack on our other resistance, it's going to be amazing to be able to do some stuff with builds. And enabling an even longer slide ability. Imagine full-on Metroid speed booster mode, only Samus is now wielding Gallahorn. Even if a player is longer amplified, as long as they keep sprinting, the speed booster buff will stay active. So speed booster probably took the longest for me to get. Okay, this is talking about speed booster again. So on the debuff side, Arc 3.0 is bringing two to the party, Blind and Jolt. Blinding opponents in PvE won't be able to see, naturally, and will also be disoriented and unable to fire their weapon. In PvP, blinded opponents will have their screen whited out and their HUD removed for a short period of time alongside a ringing audio effect, simulating the ringing in the ears after a flashbang explodes. I hope that's not annoying. Jolted opponents who are damaged will periodically send slivers of chain lightning out to nearby enemies, damaging them in the process. Ooh, that's cool. So Jolted. So that must be like volatile rounds on Void, I'd assume. Arc 3.0 also democratizes Ionic Traces, which were previously available only to Middle Tree Warlocks, now available to all. Ooh, that's nice. Traces are objects that, when collected, will add energy for all your abilities. Now that you are familiar with the basics, let's jump into the classes themselves to see how they'll make the most out of Arc 3.0. Alright, so we have Hunter here first. A Hunter dashing forward, crackling with the power of Arc Lightning is a sight that is sure to strike fear in the heart of any enemy. As with previous subclass revamps, the team had definite images in mind when considering what the new Arc should feel like in combat. For Hunter, the team imagined the graceful warrior monk, giving the Hunter the ability to get in close quarters quickly and effectively, makes a mess of their opponents in the process. For Hunters, we wanted to reward staying in close and being safe while you're in close quarters with an enemy, which is very difficult to do in a lot of our content, said Humboldt. We wanted to give them tools to stay alive while they either closed the gap or were in melee combo. That came primarily in the form of giving them crowd control tools. To that end, the Hunter's Arc Staff Super is returning. With Arc Staff, Hunters will be able to block and deflect projectiles with a press of a button, as well as perform an armored dodge where, upon dodging, the Hunter is more resistant to incoming damage, so that's normal. But one super just didn't seem like enough to the team. Oh, we get a new super! Thus the introduction of a brand new Arc-themed super, the Gathering Storm. Here the Hunter leaps into the air, hurling their staff into the ground, or into any unlucky enemy, like a spear. Upon impact, the staff emits a damaging burst that jolts nearby enemies. Soon after, a giant bolt of lightning strikes the staff and overcharges it, creating a large damage zone around it for several seconds. While overcharged, the staff sends out Arc Lightning to damage enemies that move near it. Okay, that sounds freaking sweet. On the melee side, the team kept the Hunter's Combination Blow ability, feeling like it was right in line with the Graceful Warrior fantasy that they were going for. Kills with Combination Blow will refund dodge energy, increase melee damage, and restore a small amount of health, allowing skilled hunters to chain their dodges and melee's attacks into balletic burst of beautiful fury. In addition, the disorienting blow melee returns, blinding opponents with a devastating palm attack, which will now amplify the hunter along the way. Hunters will be able to choose from 3 arc aspects to customize their tactical style. Flow state. Defeating a jolted opponent causes you to become amplified. When amplified, the hunter's dodge will recharge faster and make you more resistance to damage. And you have quicker reload times. Resistance to damage, that's awesome. Tempest Strike allows the hunter to perform a sliding melee that launches an arc wave along the ground, dealing significant damage and jolting enemies in its path. I feel like Tempest Strike is going to be a lot better. Lethal Current. After dodging, the hunter's melee lunge range is increased and their next melee attack jolts the target and creates a damaging lightning aftershock. When used with the Arc Staff Super, after dodging, the hunter's next staff light attack hits twice. In addition, hitting a jolted enemy with a melee attack will blind them. Okay, so that's interesting. After dodging, the hunter's melee lunge range is increased and their next melee attack jolts the target and creates a damaging lightning aftershock. So it jolts anything it hits and creates a damaging lightning aftershock. I wonder how much damage that's actually going to do. When used with an Arc Staff Super, after dodging, the hunter's next staff light attack hits twice. In addition, hitting a jolted enemy with a melee attack will blind them. Cool. Finally, and of particular note, Art 3.0 will bring back the Blink movement mode for Arc Hunters. Oh no. In fact, the Blink ability will also include a baseline buff for any class that has access to it. Looking at you, Void Warlocks. Blink hasn't really been touched since Destiny's 2's release and never quite reached the heights of its previous reign of terror. We felt like this was a good time to walk a few of the turning changes back a little and bring Blink's potency at baseline up without needing an exotic equipped. In practical terms, that means an increased travel distance and rework recharge model for the ability that will keep it fresh while still maintaining its effectiveness. Ooh, Blink could be crazy. Warlocks. All right, this is the one I'm most excited about, so let's see what we got here. Player fantasies don't come any more vivid than what the team has in mind for Arc 3.0 Warlocks. Two separate images were top of the mind, the Lightning Shaman and Emperor Palpatine in full Lighting Fingers mode while turning Luke Skywalker into burnt toast. We wanted the player to feel like they are channeling the power of the storm through their body, said Dunn. Controlling the storm, controlling lightning like an elemental conduit. Two supers will be available for Warlocks, Chaos Reach, where players will be able to shoot concentrated beams of arc energy out of their hand to decimate opponents, and Storm Trance, which is more akin to the image of Palpatine floating around the world, firing electricity from their fingers. This super combines both the landfall behavior from previous bottom tier arc, creating a damaging shockwave underneath the player, and the iconic blink behavior from the old top tree arc, allowing the Warlock to teleport briefly during the super. That's actually really good. That's going to make Storm Trance a lot better just with adding those two together. Warlocks will have two melee available, both utilizing the power of lightning. The ball lightning melee will send out a floating ball of arc energy that detonates, zapping enemies down from above, and then chain lightning will send out arcs of lightning to strike and jolt the primary target and chain damage to surrounding enemies in the process. The Warlock's whole thing is that being amplified modifies their abilities. It powers them up, said Dunn. For ball lightning, if you're amplified, the arc will fly out and zap enemies 3 times instead of just the normal 1 time, so you can get more damage out of it. For chain lightning, it chains to more targets. More specifically, while normal chain lightning creates a single set of chains that bounces between a set of number of targets, when amplified, the ability creates 2 sets of chains and can potentially jump to twice the number of enemies. Dang, that could be pretty dang good. 3 aspects will be available for the Warlocks. Arc Soul. The Warlock casts a rift to create an Arc Soul that will assist the player in battle. Allies who pass through the rift will also earn an Arc Soul. The rift charges faster when allies are near. While amplified, any Arc Soul you have or gain is supercharged, increasing its rate of fire. That's what I was interested in. I wonder how good they can make the Arc Soul. Lightning Surge, or Lightning Surge. The Warlock activates their melee while sliding to transform into a ball of lightning and teleport forward, calling down a field of lightning bolts at the exit point that jolts targets. Okay, let's read this one again. The Warlock activates their melee while sliding to transform into a ball of lightning and teleport forward, calling down a field of lightning bolts at the exit point that jolts targets. That sounds amazing. So like the new Consecration melee for the Titan, right? Or something like that, where you slide and then go into the activation mode of it. Oh man, that sounds like so much fun. If it's strong, teleport forward, we go into a ball of lightning and we leave the field of lightning bolts at the exit point that jolts targets. Oh man, that could be so much fun. Electrotastic Mind. Arc ability kills and kills on arc debuffed enemies create ionic traces. When you collect any ionic trace, you become amplified. I thought ionic traces were intrinsic though, so am I gonna have to have this aspect on for ionic traces? Interesting. Okay, so Titan. Man, That sounds cool for the Warlock. I feel like the Hunters got a little more there. I feel like Hunters are showing up there for Arc. All right, Titans. Titans haven't traditionally been known as paragons of mobility, but with Arc 3.0, the team is shaking things up. The team had a couple of inspirations in mind for the Titan Arc revamp that led with your Fist, Bare Knuckle Brawler, and the Freight Train. You don't get to move the Arc Titan, Humboldt said. They move you. The Arc Titan's ultimate goal is to punch you in the face, and so a lot of what we did for the Arc Titan was to try and figure out how we facilitate fist-to-face contact as much as possible. That desire to punch all things manifests in a couple of devastating supers that are returning for Arc 3.0. Fist of Havoc and Thunder Crash, while the latter is practically unchanged from before, Fist of Havoc now has an adjusted slam radius that's halfway between top and bottom path, and the ground slam leaves a damaging field in its wake, while slamming from the air causes damaging AoE effect from previous top tree behavior. In the case of Thunder Crash and other abilities, uncoupling a subclass abilities from the old subclass Diamond system will result in some substantial buffs depending on how players use it. It's one of the intrinsic advantages that the new subclass 3.0 system brings to Destiny. When you start pairing them with different things, even through nothing changed about the actual ability, they can end up getting significantly stronger as a result. This is true. We've gone over our Warlock, we've gone over our Solar 3.0, and a lot of people said it wasn't that strong, but just being able to combine different things that we were never able to do before makes stuff really good. So now they get significantly stronger as a result, because now they aren't locked into a canned set of perks that surrounded them, Humboldt said. Thunder Crash is a great example of that. So yeah, if I can do different stuff on other trees and have Thunder Crash as the super, it's going to make an Arc Titan way, way better. One of the biggest changes coming to the Arc Titan is the new Thruster class ability. Thruster class ability, so Garrison? By double tapping a button, the Titan bursts in their throttle direction at the speed, performing a quick first-person evade, comparing it in distance to the Hunter dodge. Arc is the damage type that is about mobility, so if we were going to add a mobility boost anywhere for Titans, it was going to be here. Yeah, this is literally Twilight Garrison. For melee attacks, Titans will retain the Seismic Strike shoulder charge, which blinds enemies. Performing a Seismic Strike while amplified will increase the radius of the blind, and the blinding effect will last longer. That's cool. Ballistic Slam also returns, where players can slam the ground after sprinting in the air, creating a damaging explosion upon impact. Those returning melees will be joined by a brand new charged attack known as Thunderclap. Okay, I like the name, Thunderclap. Get Thunderclapped. Okay, here the Titan player holds the melee button and charges up arc energy that can be unleashed in either a quick, powerful jab or held and built upon, to unleash in a furious one-punch man-style blast that will devastate an opponent. The charge state cannot be stored, and the Titan must be on the ground to charge the punch. The damage is significant. A 90% charged Thunderclap will one-shot Guardians in PvP. I wonder how long it takes to charge this. But the reward will be balanced by the time it will take to build up that charge level, and the fact that you must remain stationary to charge. Always a dangerous move in PvP. Like, remain stationary? Like, what do they mean here? Like, I can't move at all? The charge state cannot be stored. That's interesting. Also, in PvE, can I make this charge go way faster? If I can make this charge go way faster and get it up quicker, then that could be really fun. Like the other subclasses, Arc 3.0 Titan will have 3 aspects to select from. Touch of Thunder improves arc grenades in the following waves. Flashbang fires an additional blind impulse on its first bounce. Interesting. Pulse. When the grenade damages an enemy, it creates an ionic trace for the Titan. Okay, that's nice because it's only when it damages an enemy. It's not when it kills them. Pulse grenade damage increases over time as the grenade lingers after impact. Great. Lightning grants an additional charge for lightning grenade and jolts targets on initial blast. And lightning grenades are strong. We get another one and it's jolting targets. Great. Storm creates a roaming thundercloud that moves and tracks enemies, similar to the Stasis Hunter's Silence and Squall super, firing lightning bolts at the ground underneath it. That sounds so much fun. Creates a roaming thundercloud that moves and tracks enemies. That's awesome. Juggernaut. While sprinting and with full class ability energy, the Titan gains a frontal shield that blocks incoming damage. When amplified, the shield is stronger. Once the shield is depleted by taking damage, the player's class energy is depleted. That's interesting. Once the shield is depleted by taking damage, the player's class energy. So our shield is depleted. That actually might be perfectly fine. for chaining some really cool stuff in PvE with our shoulder charge. I wonder how much incoming damage it blocks. Knockout. Melee kills trigger health regeneration and make the Titan amplified. Critically wounding an enemy or breaking their shields increases melee range and damage for a brief period. Titan's base melee becomes arc empowered while knockout is active. That's cool. Arc empowered. That's like basically like how our solar melee becomes solar empowered. So this will spawn wells and do everything as long as knockout is procced. To complement the class-specific aspects, Arc 3.0 will also introduce a suite of new fragments, which offer new perks to build upon, as well as add bonuses or penalties to your Guardian's intrinsic stats. This is nice. It says which offer new perks, so hopefully there's some new fragments in there. Oh, here's it right here. Here's a look at a few of the fragments to come. Spark of Beacons. When the player is amplified, Arc special weapon kills create a blinding explosion. That's cool. It's only on Arc special weapons, but still creates a blinding explosion. So like plug 1 with Reservoir Burst, or what's the grenade launcher from the raid with Chain Reaction? Whatever for Barons. Ooh, stuff like that's gonna be dirty with that. Spark of Resistance. When surrounded by enemies, the player has increased damage resistance. That's great. And these are for all classes too, which is really nice. So Spark of Resistance. When surrounded by enemies, the players have increased damage resistance. This allows us to be more tanky, right? To get in there and fight things in harder content. Spark of Momentum. Sliding over ammo will reload your weapon and grant a small amount of melee energy. Sliding over heavy ammo increases the amount of energy granted. Nice. Spark of Shock. The player's arc grenades jolt enemies. This is going to be like in every single build. Because if that jolt looks cool, if it does decent damage and it chains to the enemies like it says it does, that's just going to be like volatile rounds, but maybe better because the player's arc grenades jolt enemies, right? Volatile rounds currently, you have to get a kill with your grenade and then it applies to the weapons. This looks like it's just straight from the abilities, which means we can loop those abilities back really fast with different things that we're going to be doing. And all the changes are coming with Arc 3.0 will give Guardians more ways to bring the pain to the enemies of humanity, while also letting players customize their Guardian to the way they want to play. Fans will have their first chance to see Arc 3.0 in action during next week's Destiny 2 Showcase, which is coming out August 23rd, starting at 9 AM Pacific. Check out the Showcase reveal page to learn